Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Iconic Freedom, The Formula. Here we set a standard for accountability and responsibility, the ownership of your choices and your outcomes and everything that follows. Let each care for self and all will be cared for. So when I talk about the formula, we talk about that periodic chart that you see on the various websites that this is posted on, where you create those elements that come together and bring harmony to your life. And if one of those elements in your life is not working, then you extract it and you reevaluate it and, again, bring that harmony to your life. When you finally stop reacting to the world, something unexpected happens, and it's not dramatic and it's not loud. It's just this quiet shift that happens where emotion is no longer driving what you're actually seeing. And when that happens, something very interesting begins to appear. Patterns. Not conclusions, not judgments, but patterns. You start noticing that conversations aren't as random, maybe, as they once felt. Different people, different situations, but the same structure, in a way, keeps showing up, right? The same emotional setups, the same reactions, the same outcomes. Almost like watching a script, right, performed by different actors. And I think what's fascinating is you didn't see it before. I didn't see it before because when emotion is leading perception, everything feels very personal. Everything feels unique. Everything feels like it's happening to you. But when emotion steps aside, you begin to see what's actually happening. You begin to see that reality. You start to notice how conversations unfold. A question that really, isn't really a question. A statement that's designed to pull a reaction. A shift in tone that invites you to defend or explain or justify. And I use the word invite very loosely because, you make the choice, right? So let me kind of give you an example of what I'm thinking about. You're in a conversation and someone says, wow, I just can't seem to do anything right. And on the surface, that sounds like a person in vulnerability, right? But watch what happens next. You'll see that there's a pause. And inside that pause, ever so slightly, that millisecond of a pause, there's an invitation for you to step in, to reassure or to correct or to soften what was just said. And if you do, the pattern completes itself. They feel temporarily validated. They're seeking outside of themselves, right? And you feel responsible for stabilizing the moment. You get to be the hero. And the dynamic resets, waiting to happen again. But when you're seeing the pattern, you notice something different. That statement wasn't just an expression, it was a setup. Not necessarily intentional, and I wouldn't say malicious, but it is structured. It's predictable. It's repeatable. When something is predictable and repeatable, it is theoretical, right? And in that moment, you realize something very powerful. You don't have to step into the role that's being offered. Say it again. You don't have to step into the role that's being offered to you. You can let the moment stand. You can let it be in silence. There's no fixing it. You don't have to absorb it. You don't have to make it yours. And that's where something shifts. not in them, but in you. When you're reacting, you're participating. When you're observing, you're understanding. And understanding is what creates the space between what happens and how you respond to it. And in that space is your freedom. Because now you're not navigating somebody else's chaos. You're recognizing a structure. And structure is something that you can respond to. Not react, but respond. Responsibility of choice obligates accountability of outcomes. Responsibility of choice obligates accountability of outcomes. Because once you see the pattern, you're no longer inside of it. You're choosing whether to engage with it. Whoa, right? Once you see the pattern, you're no longer inside of it, unconscious to what's going on around you. You're now choosing whether to engage with it. And I think that's when something becomes even more clear. You begin to recognize the difference between authenticity and manipulation of others. Authenticity is very clean. It doesn't need to pull. It doesn't need to corner. It doesn't need to create pressure. It doesn't need to impact an idea of inviting you into being able to fix something, being able to comfort, alleviating somebody's their insecurities. Not at all. Authenticity is clean. It simply is. Manipulation, on the other hand, has a lot of structure to it, right? There's an opening and a hook and an emotional pull, and then the expectation, right? It sounds like a movie or a script, right? Because that's what it is. And I think once you've seen that sequence, you cannot unsee it. It's like taking the red pill and into the matrix. You'll start to notice people's emotional scripts. Their phrases that sound spontaneous but really aren't. Reactions that seem personal but repeat across different people. And moments that feel intense but follow a very familiar rhythm. Don't you? I mean, I do this sometimes is when people use kind of cliches. You ask them, how you doing? And, they make some cliche, fair to Midland or whatever that is. It just is cringy for me because there's no authenticity to it. It's somebody that is pulling from cliche, trying to make it sound like it's their own, and it's not. And again, this isn't about judgment. It's just about clarity. Because once emotion steps aside, patterns reveal themselves. And when the patterns are seen, you're no longer inside of them, you're aware of them. And awareness is where freedom begins. Okay, hit that like button if you would. Share it with your family and friends. You never know how it might support them in their endeavor. All the fun links are below, and if you're inclined, feel free to subscribe on Buzzsprout. I am on X and Truth Social, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. The link to my newest book, The Christmas Cookie, Stories from the Counter, is listed below. I'd be grateful and honored if you chose to pick up a copy. It's a collection of heartwarming stories that I quietly say unfold the very principles that we talk about here each week. And until next time, stay sharp, stay sovereign, and as always, remember, let each care for self, and all will be cared for. Make it a great week.